Hi, I'm JJ Conway, and I help hardworking women and a few good men build financial confidence and take ownership of their financial future. I'm cheering you on with education on financial literacy, smart investments, and passive income streams. Welcome to Ladies of Wealth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ladies of Wealth podcast. Our guest today is joining me for a special discussion on why high-earning women become ensnared by narcissists. His name is H.G. Tudor, which is a pseudonym. He is a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath. While he shares bits of his private and professional life with his adoring fans, he is most famous for his YouTube channels, which are Knowing the Narcissist and Narcissism and Psychopathy, as well as his very robust blog at narcsite.com. Through these and other social media channels, he explains to people the mindset of him and his kind, how they look at the world, how they deal with people, see people, and he expounds greatly on how a narcissist perceives his or her victim, how they see the victims to be, what they look for, why the victims are drawn to the narcissist, and what they can do about those circumstances, what the victims can do to get away from the narcissist and stay away in order to achieve freedom. HG, welcome. Is there anything you would like to add to that intro?
Hello, JJ. Thank you very much for inviting me on today. No, that was a comprehensive and effusive introduction. You covered all bases, so there's nothing else for me to add there. Thank you.
Well, let me thank you for the honor of interviewing for my audience today. So specifically, I want to dig into why high-powered women become ensnared by narcissists. Everybody becomes ensnared by narcissists, but I'm really looking for this to focus on this particular group. And I want to educate our audience on your basics, such as the prime aims and fuel matrix, and what steps they can take to protect themselves from falling into a relationship with the narcissist, or if they already are in one, how to get out and stay out. So with that baseline set, my first question for you is, why do you do what you do?
Do you mean in terms of why do I do in educating people about narcissism, or why do I do what I do in terms of ensnaring people?
Well, you know what? That's actually all of the above, but let's start. I meant, and I needed to be more clear, I meant, why do you educate people about narcissism?
Okay. Something which will be a recurring theme in what we talk about, JJ, is the concept of the prime aims. And it's fundamental for people, if they want to understand about narcissists and narcissism, that they understand what the prime aims are. And then that will enable me to explain why I do what I do. The prime aims are four things: control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. So control means that the narcissist is able to control a person or nullify a perceived threat to control. There's lots of different ways that the narcissist will do that through manipulations. Fuel is the lifeblood of the narcissist. So you asking me a question and speaking about me in that effusive introduction gives me fuel. It validates me. And fuel, again, can come in lots of different forms. I write about it in my book, Fuel. But that is something that the narcissist seeks. Character trait acquisition is basically taking aspects of somebody else's life, personality, characteristics, and commandeering them for their own use, which is particularly applicable when we're going to be talking about high-powered women. Fourthly, residual benefits. This is a catch-all. So residual benefits might mean, and one of the most common is money. It might mean access to networks. It might mean a facade that's used. It might mean access to information. It might mean a bed for the night. It might be great sex. All of those things are residual benefits. So whenever a narcissist is interacting with another human being or contemplating that interaction, the prime aims drive the behavior. Nothing else. The prime aims do it. The prime aims is the destination. So the narcissist always needs to have control, usually needs to get fuel, sometimes need character traits and residual benefits. So how does that apply to what I do in educating people? Well, first of all, by providing people with brilliant information about narcissism, that allows me to control an audience, whether they're on YouTube, reading my blog, whether it's in consultation with them. Their reactions provide me with fuel. I don't actually need that from my audience because I get plenty of fuel in my private life, but I won't turn it down. It's certainly there to be obtained as a bonus, if you will. Then thirdly, the other aspect of it is the residual benefit, which is the fact that I am creating a legacy. And this links back to the issue of control. So what happens is that at some point I'm going to die, like we all are. And what that then means is that that is clearly a huge threat to my control. So by knowing that I have this legacy at the point that I shuffle off this mortal coil, which will be at some future point, then what will happen is that that negates that threat to control. Similarly, there's a lot of misinformation about narcissism. And in those circumstances, that is a threat to my control because the information is incorrect.
Which is one of the reasons I wanted to invite you here. Your
Yeah.
work is very clear, and it excels in that clarity that others just do not provide. So we were talking about the prime aims, how they're at the heart of everything that a narcissist does.
The work that I do through the creation of the videos and the books that I write and the blog articles that I write enables me to assert control over an audience. It's also the case that there is a lot of misinformation and gaps about narcissism, which offends my need for control because it's wrong and inaccurate. And therefore, by providing the right information, I also nullify those threats to control. People's responses to my work, whether it's writing to me and saying, HG, I was going to take my own life, but you unraveled things for me, so I didn't do that. Or HG, you helped me with my child custody dispute with the narcissist. I think you're wonderful. Whatever it might be, that provides me with fuel. Now, I don't need that fuel because I'm well fueled in my personal life, but I'll still take it. It also means that I'm creating a legacy, which has a residual benefit because, yes, I make money from what I do, but also this links back to the concept of control, because at some point, like we all are, I'm going to die. And that's a long way off. But at the point that I'm approaching death, that is naturally a huge threat to my control. And so by knowing that I have a legacy that will live on after I die, through my books, through my videos, through what I've written, then that will negate that threat to control. So the ultimate threat to control becomes negated by me through the creation of this legacy. I also find this stimulating. As a psychopath, I need stimulation. So the interaction with people, explaining the way that I see the world, the way that my kind see the world, people's reactions to it, the discussions about it, provides me also with stimulation. So me doing this caters to the fundamental things that I require as a narcissistic psychopath. It basically gives me part of what I need.
I have to find myself remembering that, because as I go and work through your extensive blog, congratulations, by the way, on 10 years of your blog.
Thank you.
But as I work through your blog and some of the videos and the writings, I have to keep reminding myself he's only doing this because it suits him. He's not
Correct.
doing this for some altruistic good, save the world, save the children, which, as someone who can be quite emotional about things, that's something where I might embark on such an extensive work to just do good. And so it's very, a lot of high-powered women will find themselves using those kinds of methods to be grounded. And it's very important to understand that just because someone is doing good in the world, and you definitely are doing good in the world, it doesn't mean they aren't doing that good to satisfy the prime aims.
Correct. There are many narcissists that do what would be considered as good works, whether it's saving lives through surgery, creating great art that people enjoy, writing pop songs that people find entertaining, scoring goals on a football pitch, or going out and operating a soup kitchen, creating businesses that create jobs and so forth. So many narcissists actually do things that people would say that is a good thing. What you have to understand is the driver behind it is purely self-interest. Now, some people will say, well, I don't care. If it helps me and it's good, I don't care what that person's motivation is. Fine. Other people may say, well, at least I know. And that's one of the advantages that people have with my work is I tell you what I am from the very beginning. There are many individuals that hold themselves out as being good individuals, and they are not, but they're often unaware narcissists. Because of my awareness, I tell you, I am a narcissistic psychopath. I am in this for myself. Yes, I manipulate. However, you do not have to like me. That doesn't matter. What will happen is, though, you will learn from me, and you will learn so much that it will help you. And if you don't like me at the end of it, then you're allowed to form that view. But most people do, because I'm engaging, charismatic. And the fact is they show their gratitude because my work saves lives and livelihoods.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, as many of a podcast or video host might find that, there's a lot of people out there who are doing a lot through podcast, video content, influencing, but at the end of the day, they don't necessarily have the friendships or the depth of the connections that others who are empaths might really value. And some of them will look at it, well, I get lots of appreciation all day through my bank account and the fact that my views and things like that. Now you do mention that you're well fueled in your private life. So this is just a little bit of fuel for you, but it's still quality, but it's not anything compared to your private life. And you mentioned throughout your channel and blog that the narcissist views their targets as appliances, kind of fitted into a fuel pipeline. And then many are taken off the shelf when the narcissist desires something from them, and then put back on the shelf once the narcissist achieves his or her goal. Would you explain a little bit more about appliances and the fuel pipeline?
Yes. People are appliances to the narcissist, and I use that term to drive home the fact that you are not seen as a human being. You are there to serve the purposes of the narcissist. You are there to be controlled. You are there to provide fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. We only like you because of what you do for us. We only give the appearance of loving you because of what you do for us. We're nasty to you because you're failing to do what we need. So the whole point is that you are doing these things for the purposes of providing us with the relevant prime aims. You are, and I've used this analogy many times before, you're like a toaster. You're there to toast the bread to the degree that we require so we can eat it. No more, no less. You are a television set that when we switch you on, we want to watch a program. You are the washing machine that washes our clothes. And that's because we objectify you. That's why we're able to walk away from you so readily. You don't form an emotional attachment to your toaster. So by regarding you or anybody else as an appliance, that allows the narcissist to treat you in a particular way, whereby we just, as you've mentioned, take you off the shelf where you're a shelf appliance, interact with you, and then pop you back on the shelf, and then we don't think about you for a period of time. Many people make the mistake of thinking that the narcissist sits at home dwelling about people. We don't, because that doesn't really serve any purpose for us. And so it's important for people to understand that the narcissist interacts with you based upon what you will provide to the narcissist. And you're either a good appliance or a bad appliance. If you're a bad appliance and a malfunctioning one, you may find yourself left on the shelf or even disengaged from, and then become replaced. In the same way, your television set goes on the blink, you pop to your local electrical goods outlet and you purchase a new one. You don't tolerate the television that's no longer working, and we are the same. Non-narcissists are emotionally invested with the relationships that they have because they have emotional empathy. We do not have any emotional empathy, which means we have no conscience, we have no guilt, we have no remorse. We will use you, and you are just there to be used for our purposes. That's why we treat you the way that we do, because we simply regard you as an appliance.
Oh, that's going to be a hard word for several in the audience today, but it's so true, and definitely brought clarity to some of the relationships that I have in my sphere with narcissists and narcissistic organizations, which hopefully we'll have enough time to get to that today. I'm not sure, because I've got so many questions for you. But the thing that I'm hearing is this is the way that the narcissists operate. But what I'm not hearing, and I already know the answer from your work, but can you explain for everyone else, do most narcissists know who they are? And maybe touch a little bit on the difference between narcissist versus normal and empath. Or let's just start with the first part. Do most narcissists realize what they're doing?
They will recognize for the most part what they're doing, but they don't truly know why they are doing it. Most narcissists are unaware. Many people make the mistake of thinking the narcissist knows precisely what they're doing. Most narcissists don't actually. You see, the narcissist has to get to the prime aims. That's the destination. Most narcissists don't know that they're seeking control and fuel and the other things that I've mentioned. So what happens is, the narcissism can't say to the narcissist in the head, hey, narcissist, you need to control this person and get fuel out of them, because that wouldn't make any sense to them. So what the narcissism needs to do is either use the truth of what everybody else sees or create a fabrication to motivate the narcissist to go after the prime aims. So I'll give you a quick example. A narcissist and his girlfriend walk into a bar. I know it sounds like a joke, but it's not. They go into a bar and she says to him, I will go and get the beers. At this point, there is no problem. Why? Because she's doing something for him. She's showing she's under control and she's giving him some fuel. All's good. We now move into the next moment, because it's important to understand that the narcissist operates in the moment, in the moment, in the moment, in the moment. She goes to the bar, and then the narcissist sees that she's talking to another man. Now we have a problem. Why? Because she's not focused on doing the thing for the narcissist. She's talking to another man. That threatens the narcissist's need for control. So the narcissism needs to make the narcissist get that control. So what it might cause the narcissist to do is this: believe that she's flirting with this man. Now, she actually isn't. It's a colleague that she's bumped into and she's saying hello. However, that's no good for the narcissism if he just sits there and thinks, oh, I'll let her talk to a man. He needs to bring her back under control. So, one particular type of narcissist, his fury gets ignited by his narcissism. And he strides over there and then starts saying, what's going on here then? And she's going, what are you talking about? You're flirting with him. Now, when he says you're flirting with him, he honestly in that moment believes it, because the narcissism has acted like a distortion field to, in that moment, rewrite history to make the narcissist truly believe that she's flirting with this man, so that he then feels jealous of his girlfriend, so he intervenes to bring the control back to him. She wasn't flirting, but it goes through a distortion field. Now, he doesn't know that he's seeking control. He just thinks that his girlfriend is being flirtatious, and he thinks that he's setting her straight. He doesn't understand, as an unaware narcissist, that he's doing this to get control and to get fuel by way of the reaction. So most unaware, so he knows that he's accusing her of flirting, but he doesn't know that that is a revision of history. He knows that he's calling her behavior out, but he doesn't understand the real reason why he's doing it. And that's something that many people struggle to get their heads around in terms of why the narcissist is behaving. They think, oh, he knows what he's doing. He knows that he's making this up. No. For the majority, the vast majority of narcissists, their lies are their truth. And what can happen is a narcissist could say to you, this ball is black. No, it's white. Actually, it's orange, and I never said that it was black or white. And they could say that within a space of a few seconds because the narcissism is repeatedly revising the history.
Oh my goodness, that is for me one of the most strongest revelations is about how in the moment the narcissist is, and how that in the moment I really believe this, it's really true, and then the next moment it's whatever it has to do, has to happen in order to control that situation or extract fuel for that situation. Right. And then I believe that's true, and it's just it's like whoa. So in essence, when the person who is being accused of the flirting is like, wait a second, you're lying, the narcissist really doesn't believe they're lying for the most part. And now you said most types of narcissists. So we'll come to that in a second. But I think it's important for people to understand, because there's so much frustration with, I get into this relationship, this person seems to be a perfect fit for me, and then all of a sudden these lies start popping up, or this starts happening. And then when we're trying to work on it, they don't believe there's a problem, because in the moment they did what they had to do to secure control, fuel, or other aims in that moment.
That's right. Yeah. So more evolved narcissists are better at maintaining a narrative, better at keeping the story straight, and they are much more effective. But basically, other narcissists that are unaware, as you've pointed out, all they need is that control in the moment. So if in that moment it makes sense to say, I love you, that's what they'll say. 5 minutes later, if it makes more sense to say, I hate you, that's what they'll say. And then if you go to that narcissist, why are you saying you hate me? 5 minutes ago, you said you love me. No, I didn't. And he honestly believes that when he says it, because in his head, his narcissism has erased what happened earlier. And then, and this is where it gets even more twisted, the narcissism can reinstate it. Yeah, well, I did say I love you, but actually I hate you because you're a liar. And then they're thinking, so now he's admitting that he said it, and then he could deny it again. And that leaves you in a complete spin. And the shifting sands, of course, make you easier to control if you don't know whether you're coming or you're going. And what you find is, over time, because the narcissist, the less evolved ones, don't keep a straight story, they get caught out, because at first, you've nothing to benchmark what they tell you against. But over time, you start to realize, hang on, 2 weeks ago, he said he didn't have a mum, and now he's telling me that he's got a mum. And 3 weeks ago, he said he couldn't stand watching football, and now he sat watching football. And it's because in the moment, he said, I don't like football, because that was the effective thing to do, perhaps to mirror you, to get you to like him. 3 weeks later, he wants to annoy you, so he sits watching football. And you're thinking, he's contradicting himself. In your world, yes. In his world, no. Because all that matters is the maintenance of control. Everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is a variable. So long as he gets that control, so long as he gets that fuel, it doesn't matter if he's contradicted himself 17 different times, because his narcissism denies that ever happened. And in your world, you're thinking, I can't follow what's going on here. He says this, then he says that, then he says the other. It makes no sense. But in his world, it makes perfect sense. And when you start to understand the way that a narcissist thinks and behaves, it's mind-boggling to the non-narcissist. But once you start to grasp it, it's hugely empowering for people.
Oh, hugely empowering. And uh, we all know the old trope of going back to the same toxic partner. But a lot of us think that, oh, I'm going to go find somebody different this time. And I'm sure I'm not the only woman in my audience who ended up in this relationship with a narcissist and turned around and thought I was dating a different kind of man, only to find out he was also a narcissist and he was also so maybe while the first boyfriend was maybe a lesser narcissist who might use physical violence, maybe the new one was a mid-range nice guy with a strong facade of respectability.
Yep.
They're really at their core the same type of people looking for the same aims. So would you please walk us through the different types of narcissists?
Okay. Well, this is an expansive topic, JJ, of which I've got many, many videos and blog articles about. So I'll provide an overview and simply say to those listening, if you want to understand more about the different types of narcissists, watch my work, read my work, go in the knowledge vault. There's lots of stuff there. But in order to categorize narcissists, I've done away with the terms covert, grandiose, vulnerable, etc., because I don't think they are helpful in terms of understanding the particular types of narcissist. It's too wide. You can talk about grandiose behaviors, vulnerable behaviors, that's fine. But referring to a covert narcissist can describe lots of different types of narcissists, so it's too wide. So I came up with categorizations whereby you have lesser narcissists. They don't operate with the facade. What you see is what you get. That's the most distinguishing factor about them. They are unaware. Mid-range narcissists, they operate with different types of facades. They are also unaware. Greater narcissists, they also operate with facades. They know what they are. And then there's the ultra, which is me. Now, amongst those other categories of lesser, mid-range, and greater, I break them down into subcategories. So you have the lower lesser. He's your out-and-out loser. The person that beats up people, doesn't have a job, isn't particularly clever. Middle lesser will have some mid-range behaviors, perhaps relies more on silent treatments, maybe in and out of work, will often use physical violence, often doesn't have much going for them in terms of charisma. Then you have upper lesser A, the affable asshole, who on the face of it is rather charismatic, but entirely superficial, often can be particularly promiscuous. They can often be quite successful as well. Upper lesser type B, bullying, bombastic, and brash. My way or the highway. Again, there's no facade. They call it as it is. So those are the four types of lesser. Mid-range narcissists, lower mid-range, they are an amalgam of lesser behaviors, but they operate an intermittent facade. So they can be a little more difficult to spot. They tend to be like a bit of a rough diamond. They think they are a decent person, but they struggle to keep the facade in place. Middle range A, the overwhelming angel, thinks they're a really lovely person, but they interfere in other people's lives. They tell people what to do. They think that they're kind, but behind the scenes, they're awful to their partner. Middle range type B, the crybaby. Lots of pity plays, sympathy symphonies, turns on the waterworks to get sympathy. It's always, why is it always my problem? Why is it always my fault? Why does this always happen to me? Upper mid-range operate with a facade of superiority. I am the best, and often they are. So they're using the truth of their abilities, but they're haughty, dismissive, often particularly charismatic. Those are all of the unaware narcissists. Then amongst the greaters, you have lower greater, often found in the military and politics, middle greater, often found in entertainment, pop stars and actors and such like, and then upper greaters who are pretty rare and tend to move in between the lines. They tend to be eminent greases, the ultimate master manipulators. So that's a very quick overview of them. There's so much material linked to all of that. Most people will come across lessers and mid-rangers on a personal level. They may well be governed by a greater. They may well buy the music of a greater. They may well read the books of a greater. But usually in terms of your interpersonal relationships, you end up with lesser and mid-range because there's a lot more of them.
Well, this is definitely opening up some eyes. Just even your descriptions, it's just like the rest of your lexicon is so precise. I greatly appreciate it. Just the descriptions and being able to go find the videos and the work of your knowledge vault to match those descriptions and learn more about those different types of narcissist is going to help people break free. And I stumbled upon your work because someone posted about consulting with you and how they possessed several empathic traits. And I read the list and was like, what? That's me too. And I'm not really that in tune with other people's feelings. I can pick up on them, but most of the time I'm like, I do not take blame for your feelings. That's your problem. So I never would have thought that I would be considered an empath, but I was intrigued. And so I bought your empath director and was shocked to see that my propensity for second chances, fighting for justice, seeking truth, all make me a juicy target for narcissists. And so would you share with our audience how some of these traits, which are shared across many of the high earning and high powered women that I know, some of these traits that they might actually love about themselves could be making them a target?
Okay. So let's take a high powered female empath. So what do we mean by high powered? Well, one should imagine somebody that is successful in their career or their field, possibly somebody who earns very good money. They may well be famous, prominent. They might be the CEO of a business. They might have founded a business. So that type of individual. So we understand what we mean by a high-powered individual. High up within an organization, political organization, an academic organization. Why would a narcissist be attracted to that person? Well, first of all, because they're an empath, that signals to the narcissist that that person is easier than non-narcissists to ensnare. Why? Because empathic people have an addiction to narcissists. That means that it's a symbiotic relationship whereby the empathic individual is drawn to the narcissist and the narcissist is drawn to the empath, because the empath is easier to ensnare compared to other people and easier to keep ensnared. So that's why the narcissist is drawn to that person, because of the fact of them being an empath. But the story doesn't end there. That appertains to the issue of control. So the narcissist who would target that individual, let's say romantically, wants a target that is not only easy to control, which makes life easier for the narcissist, but they want somebody that will fountain with fuel and has lots of character traits and residual benefits. They want the whole package to make them what I call the intimate partner primary source, who is the most important person in the narcissist fuel matrix. So by choosing an empath who is easier to control and a high-powered one, the fact that they're an empath generally means that the individual is more likely to respond in an emotional way, therefore giving more fuel. Another prime aim has been ticked, and not just ticked, but really fulfilled. A high-powered individual will invariably have lots of interesting characteristics. They may be able to speak different languages. They've traveled the world. They perhaps have been to university and they know a lot about a particular subject. They might know a lot about quantum mechanics or such like. That fact that they have all of these different characteristics to their personality proves attractive to the narcissist, because the narcissist can use that target's traits to pass them off as their own, to make the narcissist look good vis-a-vis third parties, making it easier to control those third parties. So let's take a male narcissist who ensnares a high-powered female empath, and she's traveled the world. So when she's been to Rome, all her experiences of Rome, the narcissist steals for himself and passes it off as if he's been to Rome. Her prestige and knowledge about a particular subject, the narcissist will pass it off. And remember, certain narcissists are very good at portraying a degree of knowledge, but only to a superficial level. But the victim doesn't realize that. And most people are very trusting. So they accept what they're being told, and they don't immediately start cross-examining that person to try and learn more about whether their knowledge is as extensive as it appears. Fourthly, a high-earning victim target provides a considerable residual benefit. A high-powered female empath may well have great networking capabilities, have access to lots of different opportunities, may be privy to certain information that is very useful to have. All of those things are residual benefits. Similarly, that high-powered individual may well help the narcissist with a facade of success. Look at me. My girlfriend is the CEO of ABC Incorporated. It makes him look good. Hey, if I'm able to have a girlfriend who's this high-powered individual, that must tell you that I'm a brilliant individual to have her as my girlfriend in the first place. So a high-powered target. Now, let's not lose sight of the fact that narcissists target people from all different walks of life for lots of different reasons. And if time allowed, I could go into all of those, but we won't today because the focus is on high-powered individuals. So the high-powered individual proves attractive to the narcissist by virtue of being an empathic individual that's easy to control, one that fountains with fuel, has lots of character traits, and has lots of residual benefits. So that's why they're such a target. Now, the other question then becomes, well, surely some kick CEO or professor of chemistry or some individual who has grafted and built up her business from scratch and now has turned it into a multi-million-dollar turning over operation. Surely they're going to be a bit long in the tooth and a bit, they've built up a hide and they spot this chancer and narcissist coming along. Surely as a hugely intelligent woman with a brain the size of Canada, she'll be able to recognize that this narcissist comes along. No. I have advised CEOs, NASA scientists, professors at Ivy League universities, and so forth, both male and female, who've been caught by narcissists. Why do they get caught? Two main reasons. One, they don't know what to look for. And two, they experience something that's called emotional thinking. When you're addicted to the narcissist, you suffer emotional thinking, which basically causes you to fail to pick up on the red flags that exist. You either don't see them or you do, and you put them to one side. There it is. Red flag. One of my books, which everybody should read so they recognize what those red flags are. Now, when an individual is being love bombed by the narcissist, it feels good. And for instance, let's say that high-powered individual is short on time. So along comes a narcissist who decides, hey, your dry cleaning needs picking up. I'll go and do it for you. Would you like a latte? I'll pick one up for you. So in order to bring that high-powered individual under control, he runs around almost like a personal servant. Now, you might think, why would a narcissist do that? Why would they be subservient? But it's because the narcissist stands to gain. And so a high-powered individual who finds somebody that makes time for them, is always available when they need to be, that proves rather attractive. Everybody likes to be complimented and flattered, which the narcissist will lay it on thick. And then, of course, because either they don't recognize narcissists or if they have some knowledge about them, their interaction with the narcissist causes their emotional thinking to soar. So they basically are governed by an emotional response rather than logic. So rather than thinking, hang on a second, I've only just met this man. He wants to spend all available time with me. He's pinging me with 100 text messages a day. He's bought me 3 gifts in 2 weeks. That's over the top. Instead, the emotional thinking says, he's really into you. He really likes you. The texts are really fun. Isn't it nice having somebody who's so interested in you? Ooh, that Tiffany bracelet, it's gorgeous. Isn't he so thoughtful and tasteful picking that? And you basically don't see what's going on until it's far too late.
You see my reactions over here. I'm like almost word for word, like, ooh, you because I've
Yep.
definitely lived that experience. And just to hang on to this for a little bit, I want to get your words right, so I'm using a card for it. From your blog post, The Victim, you make some comments about how one has that instinctive knowledge that someone is an ideal victim. How do I know? Do you smell different? Do you have V stamped on your foreheads? No, but you may as well have. It is the capacity to assimilate so many signals that you broadcast in an instant, collate them, interpret them, and then the conclusion is reached. Ideal victim. You stand out. Your aura glows around you and tells me that you are prey. It might be your gait, the way you hold your bag, the manner of your conversation, should you be on your mobile phone, the way you picked up the bottle of water and then replaced it and chose another, or the way you looked around yourself before taking a step forward. There is a multitude of signals which combine and are broadcast to me. My cold reptilian mind assesses the information in an instant. You may appear in my field of vision and those signals come racing from you, victim. It is if I have breathed in deeply through my nose and picked up the scent of weakness, the stench of vulnerability, and the odor of susceptibility. How does an empath stop broadcasting these signals?
You can't.
Well, that was a quick answer I didn't want to hear. So they can't stop. It's just who they are.
You can't change what you are. You can't change the signals that you give out. And also, on one level, why should you? Let's draw the analogy here. How often has it been heard that said the woman who was raped invited it because she wore a short skirt? So therefore, don't wear a short skirt. Whereas the answer that many people put forward is, shouldn't it be the men that modify their behaviors? If she wishes to dress in a way that shows off her shapely legs, then she should be able to choose to do so. So similarly, you might argue, why should you have to change the way that you are just because there are predators that are lurking? Now, some people might say, well, it'd be sensible to do it just to avoid the entanglement because we all know what happens. However, the fact is, you can't switch off being empathic. You can't change the way that you are. It's ingrained in you, the way that you behave. What you have to be able to do is recognize us when we come. And that's why my books, Red Flag and Black Flag, are so important, so that you acquire the knowledge of what narcissists look like, so that when they start to come near, you go, I think this person's a narcissist. Now, sometimes you'll get it wrong, but that doesn't matter. Better safe than sorry. So if you throw somebody back in the sea who wasn't a narcissist, doesn't matter. They're not going to be hurt for long, and you can move on and you'll find somebody else. Better that you do that than run the risk of thinking, are they or aren't they? Always err on the side of caution. And my work sets out the things that you can look for that will tell you. So, for instance, you go on a date and the man that you're with, he immediately turns up and he's very polite and he opens all the doors for you, opens the car door for you. He's always checking, are you okay? That in itself doesn't make him a narcissist, okay? That attentiveness could just be a very polite and sensitive man. But it is a red flag. But on its own, it doesn't mean he's a narcissist. So if there's nothing else, you're just dealing with a particularly attentive person. But if we get lots of different red flags in the interactions, then you're more than likely dealing with a narcissist. So you need to back away. So for instance, if you're on a date with somebody and they're particularly attentive and they're always complimenting you, and some of the compliments don't really land right, you think, yeah, I'm not bad looking, but I'm not stunning. And this guy's going on as if I'm an absolute model. Okay. And then he's slagging off his ex. Why are we talking so much about his ex? And he talks about his difficult relationship with his parents. I didn't really ask him about that. And he's already talking about the next time that we meet, but I've only been talking to him for half an hour. The red flags are starting to mount up with that individual, and you may well be dealing with a narcissist. And that's just some examples of things that would be signaling that you potentially could be dealing with a narcissist. The problem is, first of all, most people aren't educated about narcissists. You're not taught it in school. Your mum and dad don't tell you about it, so you don't know about it. Secondly, much of the behavior of the narcissist has become normalized in society. Why? Because we invariably control things by virtue of getting into certain positions of power and influence that normalize our behavior. A big example of that is the concept of love. So, pop songs, rock songs, novels, films, television, Hallmark cards, all have an idealized romantic version of love. I would crawl across hot coals to be with you. I would ride a camel. I would fly in a hot air balloon. I would commandeer a 747 just so long as I could get back to you and taste the sweetness of your kiss. That's not normal. But people think, oh, isn't that romantic? Isn't that wonderful that he would do all of that for me? That's a narcissist speaking. So when the narcissist talks about, I can't stand to be without you, my life is at an end, it feels like an icy dagger has been driven into my heart, I haven't slept in days because of the fact that you're away from me. All of that is a narcissist talking, and it makes people think that standing in the rain reciting poetry is the right way to go about it. Now, there's nothing wrong with little flashes and glimpses of romantic love, but all of the overboard stuff is driven by narcissists, because that's what narcissists think love is like. And I've come to learn that love is about respect and patience and understanding and being giving of your time and listening and being compassionate. The only trouble with all of those things, they're not very exciting. They're really good for the foundation of a healthy relationship. But if a guy comes along to you and he brings a dozen red roses and say, I've got his reservations in this very swanky restaurant that I'd like to take you to, you go, oh, wow, gosh, that's great. That's exciting. And he compliments you, and then he takes you back and you have some excellent hanky-panky. And you think, oh, wow, this is all really good. Whereas if he turned up and he said, yeah, I'm actually, he demonstrates he's a really good listener, and he shows compassion for a little dog in the street, and all of these things. It's all very nice, but it's not sweep you off your feet exciting. And unfortunately for people, they have become normalized to expecting the swept off your feet treatment in a relationship. And that plays right into our hands, because guess who does that? We do. And then non-narcissists emulate that behavior, meaning it becomes harder to pick us out, because everybody's about the romance rather than doing the actual solid groundwork in a relationship. And one of the biggest ways to out a narcissist is to take your time with the relationship. Not go on an immediate second date. Wait a week or so. Don't be responding to the text messages straight away. Yes, the addiction will be screaming at you. Reply, because it wants you to feed the addiction by interacting with the narcissist. But if you hold off, you will suddenly either find the narcissist disappears because you're viewed as too difficult to control, so they go and chase down another option, because the narcissist will have plenty of hooks in the water. You're not the only one at the beginning. Or you suddenly get a snippy response from the narcissist. Why aren't you replying to my messages? Where are you? Whoa, hang on a minute. We've only been on 2 dates. You're not my keeper. So they'll out themselves. So slowing things down and using patience, but it is hard for people to do, because when they meet this person who is exciting and their own addiction lights up, they want to get more of them because it's fun and it's exciting and it's interesting being around them. And also they don't want to lose that person. So they want to respond to the messages straight away. But you've got to exercise that restraint, because if it's a healthy person, they won't react to that. They'll wait. But it does become more difficult because you have stupid books like The Rules that was written, funnily enough, by unaware narcissists that tell you about how you should behave in relation to texting. All they're telling you is this is how narcissists behave. And so what do people do? Oh, right. If he doesn't contact me immediately, that means that he's not interested. No, it doesn't. It means that he's actually a healthy individual who's got a job, quite possibly got a family from a previous relationship. He's got children to look after. He's got hobbies and friends. That's why he's not texting you immediately. He might respond and say, really enjoyed last night. I'll get in touch to see you again. And then you think, I've not heard from him for 4 days. It's only 4 days. But people have been conditioned to think by ridiculous books like that, he should be contacting you more repeatedly. So when the narcissist does that, because we're looking to control you and draw fuel from you, you think, brilliant, this guy's really interested in me, or this woman's really interested in me. And you're falling into the trap of being ensnared by a narcissist.
Yep, I think your interview today, the points that you brought out, are really going to help a lot of people identify the narcissists in their lives. And then the work that you have, which I have like 5 more questions, including one about your favorite author, but we are at the end of our time and I want to be respectful of your time. So if it suits you to answer them after our time is up, that's fine. If it doesn't, wait, I didn't say that right. If it suits you to answer them after our time is up, that would delight me. But if not, I completely understand. But before we go, there's so many resources you have, including one of the big concerns that I've seen from women, like, what about my children? And so you have resources on how narcissists are formed. You have resources on how to protect your child. I think one's called the child defender, and how to co-parent and those kinds of things. Would you let the audience know how to get a hold of you and how to access your very exquisite work?
Certainly. There is massive amounts of free material. I've got thousands of videos on my YouTube channel, which is Knowing the Narcissist H.G. Tudor the Ultra, and a smaller channel called Narcissism and Psychopathy with H.G. Tudor, which JJ kindly referenced earlier on. I have a blog which has got hundreds of articles for you to read. That's Narcsite, spelled NARCSITE.com. Those articles link onto Facebook, Knowing the Narcissist page there. I'm on X under Knowing the Narcissist H.G. Tudor. There are all of those platforms. There are thousands of videos and hundreds of blog articles that you can watch and read for free. Also, seeing the links that exist on the videos and also on narcsite.com. You can use the narc detector to find out if somebody is a narcissist. You can use the empath detector to find out if you're an empath or not. You can book an audio consultation with me and join thousands of people who've spoken to me, and I help unravel what you're doing. And I have something called the Knowledge Vault, where there are over 200
Before
products
you get into the
and
knowledge
services
vault,
in there.
you blanked out on that last. Could you just say that last point again?
Okay.
Before you go into the knowledge vault, you had okay.
Yep. So on narcsite.com, you can organize a narc detector to determine is somebody a narcissist or not, and the reasons why they are or are not a narcissist. You can do the empath detector to determine if you're an empath or not. You can also book an audio consultation with me and join the thousands of people that have spoken to me, so I can unravel the narcissist behavior to help you understand. I can help you with your no contact regime, and I can help you understand how you deal with the narcissist, get away from the narcissist, stay away from the narcissist, understand more about yourself and why you're vulnerable, how we can help you stay away from the narcissist moving forward, move on from them. And there are thousands of people, and you can see the testimonials with regard to those that have been helped. I also have the Knowledge Vault, which again you access through narcsite.com. That has over 200 products and services which tell you about how to stop the hoovers, how to co-parent with a narcissist, how to handle a parental narcissist, how to handle a narcissist at work, how to achieve zero impact, child defender, which JJ referenced. So there's lots of material in there. Have a look through, and it's all reasonably priced. Sometimes I run sales on the material as well. So you can either access the free material, book to speak to me, access the paid material. But what I will guarantee you this: if you do as I tell you and you utilize my work and follow what I tell you, you will succeed. Every single person that has followed what I've told them has achieved freedom, and you will too.
Thank you so much, HG. On behalf of our audience of many types of hardworking women and a few good men, we appreciate you being on our Ladies of Wealth podcast and talking about this very important issue that affects the financial stability of many of our people who care about the world, but find themselves ensnared because they don't know the red flags. And today you have definitely helped a lot of people through this platform, and I truly appreciate you and your work and the quality of the detail with which you work. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. Pleasure to have spoken to you, JJ.
And for everybody who's listening on Ladies of Wealth, if you would like to learn more about these concepts and my own personal recovery through this journey, I invite you to come to go to jjclink.com/break-free. This is something that I haven't talked about publicly before, and I'm not going to talk about it publicly just yet, but we are going to talk about it in the private class that you can register for at jjclink.com/break-free. And if you have broken free from narcissistic relationships, you can also pay it forward. There's an option there for you to pay it forward for somebody else to take the class. You know, we just released the book. Released the book, Recovering from Narcissistic Abuse, Volume 3, international bestseller. Really appreciated being part of that anthology and the growth and healing of the women in that. Those authors will help you grow as well. All right, HG, one more time, thank you so much for being with us today. Y'all need to get on out to HG's website at narcsite.com. You need to go to his YouTube channel. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm so full of the whole Meghan Markle, whatever, because she ruined one of my favorite shows. But if you want to get some good foundation, click the link, go out there on the YouTube. You make sure you scroll to the videos and go hit the oldest videos, and you will find years of education on what narcissism is. I mean, every time I turn around and watch another video, I'm like, oh my goodness, how is this my 50th year around the sun? And I did not know that. So y'all go on out there and visit narcsite.com. Join me if this is speaking to you for real now. If you're speaking to you, this is something I don't do very often. Y'all know I'm an open book, but I haven't been an open book about all of this yet. You go to jjclink.com/break-free. And if you're just here for the wealth building education, don't forget to like, subscribe, forward to a friend, and join us on the Ladies of Wealth blog. Y'all take care and be blessed.
Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and ask your question at ladiesofwealth.com.